America, land of the free, home of the brave, and increasingly a nation divided. We see it every day, cities versus rural areas, coasts versus heartland. It's like we're living in two different countries, speaking different languages with different dreams. This isn't just about geography, it's about opportunity, about values, about the very soul of America. It's about who gets ahead, who gets left behind, and what happens when the gap between us keeps growing wider. But hey, maybe I'm just a comedian with a microphone, so let's break it down, shall we? Let's talk about the urban-rural divide, why it matters, and what we can do about it. First up, let's talk money. It's a topic that affects everyone, no matter where you live. Because let's be real, money talks, even if it sometimes whispers in rural areas with bad cell service. In these places, the struggle to connect isn't just about technology, it's about economic opportunity. The reality is, there's a big income gap between urban and rural America. This gap isn't just a number on a graph, it's a reflection of the different worlds people live in. Big cities, with their fancy tech companies and Wall Street wizards, tend to have higher salaries. These urban centres are often hubs of innovation and finance, attracting top talent from around the globe. Meanwhile, rural communities, often reliant on agriculture or manufacturing, sometimes struggle to keep up. These industries are vital, but don't always offer the same financial rewards. This isn't about laziness, it's about access to opportunity. When factories close and job fairs are scarce, it's hard to find a path to prosperity. And it's not just about income, it's about the cost of living. The expenses associated with daily life can vary dramatically depending on where you are. Housing, healthcare, even a gallon of milk can cost more in cities. These higher prices can quickly eat into those seemingly larger urban salaries. But guess what? Those higher urban salaries don't always stretch far enough to cover the difference. Families everywhere are trying to make ends meet, balancing their budgets and planning for the future. Now let's talk education. It's the key to opportunity, right? Except when it's not equally available. Cities often boast top-notch schools, universities, and fancy private institutions. Rural areas, not so much. Funding disparities mean rural schools often lack resources, experienced teachers, and even basic supplies. This isn't about city kids being smarter, it's about rural kids being dealt a tougher hand, and that's not fair. And let's not forget about access to higher education. College is expensive, and for rural students, relocating to a city for school adds another layer of cost and complexity. So what happens? They stay put, dreams deferred, potential untapped. Okay, so we've got an income gap and an education gap. What happens next? A job gap. Cities are often seen as the land of opportunity, with booming industries and endless job postings. Rural areas, not so much. Factory closures, automation, and the decline of traditional industries have hit rural communities hard. And while cities are busy creating new jobs in tech and innovation, those opportunities don't always translate to rural areas. This isn't about rural folks not wanting to work. It's about the lack of good-paying jobs in their communities. It's about the dignity of work, the pride of providing for your family, being ripped away. Section 5, red versus blue, voting in two different worlds. Now, let's talk politics. Because if there's one thing that screams divide, it's the red and blue map of America every election night. The stark contrast between these colours highlights the deep political divide that exists within the country. Cities are often painted blue, representing more liberal views where progressive policies and social change are more widely embraced. While rural areas are a sea of red, reflecting conservative values where tradition and stability are highly valued. But it's not just about picking a colour, it's about feeling heard, about ensuring that every vote counts and every voice matters, about having your concerns addressed. People want to know that their issues are being taken seriously by those in power. Rural communities often feel ignored by politicians who seem more focused on city issues. They feel their unique challenges are overlooked. And city dwellers sometimes struggle to understand the challenges facing rural America. The issues that matter in the city can be vastly different from those in the countryside. This disconnect breeds resentment, fuels polarization, and creates an environment where compromise seems impossible and makes it harder to find common ground. Yet finding common ground is essential for the health of our democracy, and that's not good for democracy. A divided nation struggles to move forward, and the true essence of democracy is lost when we can't come together. Section 6. City slickers and country folk. A culture clash? This is a question that has intrigued sociologists, anthropologists, and everyday people alike for decades. Beyond the economic and political differences, there's also a cultural divide that runs deep and influences our daily lives in ways we might not even realize. City life is often seen as fast-paced, individualistic, and diverse. The hustle and bustle of urban areas can be both exhilarating and exhausting, offering endless opportunities but also constant competition. Rural life, on the other hand, is often associated with close-knit communities, traditional values, and a slower pace of life. Here, people tend to know their neighbours, and there's a strong sense of community and mutual support. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. Each has its own unique set of advantages and challenges. It's about recognizing that these differences exist and that they shape how we see the world. Our environments influence our perspectives, our values, and even our interactions with others. But sometimes these differences lead to misunderstandings, stereotypes, and even prejudice. Miscommunication can easily occur when people from different backgrounds come together. City folk might see rural communities as behind the times, lacking the modern conveniences and progressive attitudes they are accustomed to. While rural folks might view city dwellers as out of touch with nature and traditional values, perhaps even seeing them as overly materialistic or disconnected from the simpler joys of life. This lack of understanding only widens the divide. Bridging this gap requires empathy, open-mindedness, and a willingness to learn from one another. Section 7. Bridging the divide. Can we all get along? So, we've talked about the problems, the gaps, the divides. Depressing, right? But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. We can bridge this divide, but it takes effort, understanding, and a willingness to listen. We need to invest in rural communities, create economic opportunities, improve education, and ensure access to healthcare. We need to listen to each other's concerns, find common ground, and build bridges of understanding. It's about recognizing that we're all Americans regardless of where we live or how we vote. It's about remembering that we're all in this together. Section 8. The future. United we stand. The future of America depends on our ability to bridge this urban-rural divide. A divided nation is a weakened nation, vulnerable to internal strife and external threats. But a united America, one that values all its citizens, is a force to be reckoned with. It's time to stop seeing each other as us versus them and start remembering that we're all in this together. It's time to bridge the divide and build a stronger, more united America for all.